Hello everyone. Just over a year ago, the public in both Thailand and Vietnam was shaken by the news that 6 Vietnamese-origin tourists were found dead inside a luxury hotel in the heart of Bangkok. Many people may already know the official conclusion reported by the media. However, the investigation itself and the hidden layers behind it remain far from fully understood. And in this video, Vietnamese Case Files will walk you through every major development of this shocking case to understand how it unfolded and what ultimately led to this tragedy. Please also note that all of today's content has been researched and compiled by our team from multiple credible sources. If you spot any inaccuracies or details that need clarification, feel free to leave a comment below so we can update and correct them. Before we dive into the details, don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss any future episodes from Vietnamese Case Files. Thank you for your continued support. On the afternoon of the 16th of July 2024, the front desk staff at the Grand Hyatt Erawan, a 5-star hotel in central Bangkok, reviewed the guest list and noticed that the group staying in the premium room 502 had not checked out on time. After repeated attempts to contact the guests failed, the hotel security team went upstairs to inspect the room. However, the front door was tightly locked, forcing them to enter through the service entrance. The moment they stepped inside, they were horrified to find 6 people in the room, 3 men and 3 women, all unresponsive. The shock was so overwhelming that the staff immediately alerted the Bangkok police. Shortly afterward, authorities arrived and took over the scene. The bodies showed signs of cyanosis, with darkened lips, and were immediately sent for autopsy. The initial report from Chulalongkorn Hospital noted no obvious external injuries. Meanwhile, investigators observed several unusual details at the hotel. The luxury room showed no signs of forced entry or struggle, the furniture was intact, and the victim's personal belongings remained untouched. The room had been securely locked from the inside, and security cameras in the hallway showed no strangers entering or leaving the room since the previous afternoon. From this footage, police were able to reconstruct the full sequence of events before the tragedy occurred. On the afternoon of July 15, a hotel staff member delivered food and tea to the room. Only one woman came out to receive the tray. She declined the staff's offer to prepare the tea and insisted she would handle it herself. This detail immediately caught investigators' attention. It suggested the possibility that she intentionally took control of preparing the drinks for the entire group. On the dining table, police found the very food tray and afternoon tea that the group had ordered on July 15. Notably, investigators focused on 6 teacups on the table. Inside each cup was a thin layer of light gray sediment of unknown origin. All 6 cups appeared to have been completely emptied, suggesting that all victims had consumed the same beverage. A quick forensic check detected a faint almond-like smell, a classic indicator of cyanide, an extremely lethal toxin often used in poisonings. Moreover, with no signs of struggle at the scene, it appeared that no one had been forced to drink. The victims seemed to have trusted the beverage and consumed it willingly. These troubling clues pointed to a strong possibility that the perpetrator was among the 6 victims themselves, a murder-suicide scenario. Cyanide acts rapidly, causing cellular suffocation that can kill within minutes of ingestion. A theory quickly formed. One of the 6 had quietly laced the tea with poison and then drank it as well, choosing to die alongside the others. The prime candidate, based on early suspicion, was the woman who had insisted on preparing the tea that afternoon. Still, this remained only a hypothesis, with no conclusive evidence at that stage. The mystery and eeriness of the case forced Thai investigators to mobilize urgently through the night. With the initial theory suggesting that one victim had killed the others before taking their own life, the investigation's first priority was to confirm the group's identities and relationships to determine the possible motive. This step was not difficult, as the hotel had kept detailed records of its guests. Through their identification documents, the victims' profiles gradually became clear. The 6 people in that tragic room included Shireen Chong, 56 years old, a Vietnamese-American citizen. She was the oldest in the group and the one who booked the hotel room. Outwardly, she portrayed herself as someone wealthy and influential, frequently boasting about being the wife of a Dubai billionaire to impress others. Pham Hong Dan, 49, and his wife Nguyen Thi Phuong, 46, a Vietnamese business couple. They were known as investors from Vietnam who had previously partnered with Shireen Chong in a business venture. Dong Hung Van, 55, also a Vietnamese-American citizen who had traveled from the United States alongside Shireen. Nguyen Thi Phuong Lan, a Vietnamese citizen and longtime acquaintance of Shireen. She had a husband who was also a businessman, though they were separated. Phuong Lan brought her younger sister on the trip, but the sister had flown back to Vietnam a few days before the incident. Those who knew Phuong Lan described her as resourceful and well-connected. The last victim was Truong Dinh Phu, 37, a well-known makeup artist from Da Nang. Known professionally as Phu Gia Gia, he had worked with many VIP clients and celebrities in Vietnamese showbiz. Before the trip, he told his family he needed to spend 3 days in Thailand for work. It was later confirmed that Phu had worked for Shireen Chong about a year before the incident. Since all 6 victims were Vietnamese or of Vietnamese descent, Thai authorities immediately contacted relevant agencies in Vietnam to coordinate the investigation. The forensic team conducted a detailed autopsy and confirmed that no stimulants or illegal substances were present. This ruled out the possibility of drugging or accidental overdose. The final conclusion remained acute cyanide poisoning, as all internal organs showed signs of severe oxygen deprivation. They were also determined to have died roughly 24 hours before discovery. On the 17th of July 2024, just 1 day after the bodies were found, the Bangkok police held an emergency press conference. Based on the crime scene and preliminary autopsy, Major General Napasin Punsawat, Deputy Commissioner of Bangkok Police, announced the working hypothesis. 1 individual had poisoned the other 5 and then taken their own life. This theory aligned with all evidence: the room locked from the inside, no external intrusion, and cyanide detected in all victims' blood samples. Therefore, the next crucial step was to identify which of the 6 had introduced the poison. Investigators collected every item in the room for forensic testing. Their goal was to trace how the poison had been prepared and mixed into the tea, and whether there had been any prior planning or exchange of messages. At the same time, the hotel's full security camera footage was extracted for review, tracing movements from check-in until the discovery of the bodies. The footage showed the group staying in separate rooms, but frequently gathering in room 502, where the incident occurred. On the afternoon of July 15, all 6 were present in room 502, and their luggage had already been packed. At around 2 p.m., room service delivered afternoon tea and food. The video showed Shireen Chong receiving the tray. She wore a black dress, signed the receipt, closed the door, and no one else appeared on camera afterward. From this, police became nearly certain that Shireen was the last person to handle the group's food and drinks before they died. Her refusal to let hotel staff prepare the tea was later confirmed through both staff testimony and camera footage. This became a critical clue, and investigators started focusing heavily on Shireen. However, they could not reach a conclusion just yet. Police continued analyzing calls, messages, and emails from the group's phones to uncover potential motives. They discovered frequent discussions about meeting in Bangkok, often centered around settling financial matters. Furthermore, data showed that Nguyen Thi Phuong Lan acted as the coordinator of the trip. She also contacted a Vietnamese tour guide in Thailand named Phan Ngoc Vu for assistance during their stay. As a result, 5-year-old Phan Ngoc Vu was quickly identified as an important witness and was summoned for questioning on July 17, just 1 day after the incident. At the Lumpini police station, he provided valuable information. Vu stated that Phuong Lan had asked for his help before the trip. Specifically, between July 3 and the 5th of July 2024, she asked him to buy a product called Noba 7 Snake Medicine, a popular Vietnamese joint relief supplement. It cost 11,000 baht, approximately $315. This medicine was sold at a shop in the Lat Krabang area of Bangkok. However, Vu did not hand it directly to Phuong Lan. Instead, he asked another tour guide colleague, nicknamed Ho, Tiger, to deliver the medicine to her at the hotel. He also said that, right before the trip, Lan's husband, Hung, called and asked him to exchange 70 million in Vietnamese currency into about 90,000 baht, which is roughly $2,500. Vu carried out the exchange and handed the cash to Lan's younger sister, who had been traveling with the group and flew back to Vietnam on July 10. His statements introduced 2 new pieces of the puzzle. First, the bottle of snake medicine, and second, that relatively large sum of money. For investigators, this raised a critical question. Could the Noba 7 snake medicine have any connection to the cyanide poison? And why did Lan's family suddenly move money back to Vietnam through the younger sister? Had they anticipated a worst-case outcome? Thai police immediately set out to locate the tour guide nicknamed Ho to verify the delivery of the medicine. They pulled security camera footage from the hotel and surrounding areas to identify who had handed the package to Lan. At the same time, they contacted the shop in Lat Krabang to check the No. 7 snake medicine. Preliminary findings showed it was an herbal supplement derived from snake venom, sold in bottled form. The medicine itself did not contain cyanide. However, investigators considered the possibility that the bottle had been switched or tampered with before it reached the group. If that were true, those involved in handling the medicine, such as the guide Ho or Lan herself, could potentially be linked to a larger scheme. To gather more evidence, investigators questioned Lan's husband for 5 straight hours. Hung stated that he and Lan were separated and living apart, and that he was not involved in or fully aware of her business activities. He did admit, however, that he had a video call with Lan shortly before the incident. The exact content of that call was not disclosed, but he appeared shocked by her death. He also said the money exchanged for his sister-in-law was simply a favor he did at Lan's request, and he did not know what it was for. Based on his statement, police concluded that Hung did not appear to be a direct suspect. However, the information he provided helped corroborate Vu's account about the exchanged money and the younger sister's trip. As for this sister, she had returned to Da Nang on July 10, so she was not present at the crime scene. Still, Thai police worked with Vietnamese authorities to contact this 7th person. In her interview, Lan's younger sister confirmed that she had traveled with the group and returned early because of family matters. She insisted she had nothing to do with Lan's business dealings. She also confirmed that she received the exchanged money from Vu and brought it back to the family. Given that she left Thailand 6 days before the deaths and had no contact with the victims afterward, investigators temporarily removed her from the suspect list. In addition, Thai police received a team of FBI agents in Bangkok to investigate the deaths of the 2 American citizens. The FBI assisted with toxicology analysis and examination of the victims' electronic devices as requested. Vietnam's Ministry of Public Security also sent officers to help confirm the identities of the 4 Vietnamese victims and provide data on their business activities in Vietnam. A joint task force involving Thailand, Vietnam, and the United States was formed to exchange information quickly and clarify the motive behind the crime. At this point, investigators turned their focus to Shireen Chong, the most suspicious figure. According to people who knew her, Shireen had an obscure background and appeared to be a super scammer wrapped in an elegant facade. She held American citizenship, had lived overseas for many years, and frequently traveled between Vietnam and Thailand for business. On the surface, she portrayed herself as a highly successful woman with an extensive network, even bragging about having a billionaire husband in Dubai. Later, investigators discovered that this claim was entirely fabricated. She also claimed to be connected to major projects, persuading investors to contribute capital for an international hospital in Japan and various real estate schemes. On top of that, she hired a personal makeup artist, Trun Din Phu, to accompany her on trips, signaling her desire to appear glamorous in front of potential targets. One of Phu's friends recounted that Shireen had once flown him to Hong Kong just to do her makeup, showing that she operated within a very wide social circle. All of this helped her build a convincing image, a facade solid enough to herd the flock into her schemes. According to case files, Shireen regularly hosted online seminars promoting high-return investment opportunities, similar to multi-level Ponzi-style operations. In fact, within the Vietnamese community in California, many people had previously accused her of taking their money and disappearing. This indicated that she likely had a history of financial fraud long before the killings. More importantly, investigators discovered that Shireen owed 10 million baht, roughly $280,000 to Thon and Phuong, and had repeatedly delayed repayment. It is therefore highly plausible that under pressure from these investors, Shireen organized this trip under the guise of business talks, but actually intended to resolve the debt in the most extreme way, eliminating everyone to wipe the slate clean. As for ending her own life, she may have felt cornered, afraid of going to prison, and having run out of money. This theory grew stronger when forensic analysis found traces of cyanide in the teapot and tea leaves collected from the room. It suggested that the killer had deliberately mixed the poison into the tea ingredients beforehand, and the only person who prepared the tea herself that day was Shireen. Next, police expanded their investigation to track the source of the cyanide. It was possible that Shireen had brought it from the United States or purchased it in Thailand. Authorities reviewed recent chemical purchase records in Thailand but found no clear lead. One working theory was that Shireen might have acquired the cyanide on the black market or smuggled it in by air. Just as investigators were struggling to trace the cyanide's origin, an unexpected development occurred. On the 16th of August 2024, exactly 1 month after the tragedy, tour guide Phan Ngoc Vu, a key witness in the case, was arrested by Thai tourist police. The public was stunned. Could he have been the real killer all along? Had the suspicion surrounding Shireen been misplaced? Ultimately, they conducted a raid and caught him in the act while he was escorting a group to a hotel in Bangkok on August 16. Vu was charged with operating an unlicensed tourism business and working as a tour guide without a permit, in violation of Thai law. He was immediately taken to Phaya Thai police station to be processed according to legal procedures. The answer was no. His arrest was not related to the poisoning, but to the fact that he had been working illegally as a tour guide for Vietnamese tourists in Thailand. For a month after the incident, police had covertly monitored Vu and discovered he was still secretly leading groups of Vietnamese tourists. Although this did not directly relate to the poisoning, it demonstrated how thoroughly Thai authorities pursued violations, even seemingly minor ones. In the end, police reaffirmed their conclusion. Shireen Chong had poisoned the entire group with cyanide-laced tea and then taken her own life. Since she was deceased and could not be prosecuted, the case was essentially closed as a mass murder driven by financial disputes. While some pieces, such as the role of the guide Ho and the exact source of the cyanide, remain unclear, the broader truth of what happened has largely come to light. From the evidence gathered, investigators were able to reconstruct much of the sequence of events. After receiving 10 million baht, about $280,000 from Thon and Phuong, Shireen had spent the money and never actually invested it in any genuine project. Around early 2024, financial tensions began to escalate. Thon and Phuong, along with other investors, repeatedly contacted Shireen to demand repayment. In response, she started planning a drastic, worst-case solution to her problem. She considered poisoning a method that could kill multiple people quickly without confrontation or physical struggle. Shireen decided to use cyanide to carry out her plan. To do so, she first needed to obtain the poison. Some reports suggest that Shireen may have brought cyanide into Thailand upon entry. Because the amount required to kill 6 people is relatively small, just a few grams of powder, she could have easily hidden it in her luggage without detection. Next, she planned to gather all her creditors and key associates in one place. She initially proposed a reconciliation and vacation trip to Japan. The destination was chosen because she had been using an alleged hospital investment project there as part of her facade. However, when one member of the group failed to obtain a Japanese visa, Shireen quickly changed the plan to Bangkok, Thailand. She eventually assembled a group consisting of Thon and Phuong, Lon, Van, and makeup artist Phu. Before the trip, Shireen asked Lon, who was familiar with Thailand, to handle local logistics. Lan booked the hotel and contacted tour guide Phan Ngoc Vu to help with transportation and shopping. The 5-star Grand Hyatt was chosen because it was both luxurious, matching Shireen's billionaire's wife persona, and private enough for serious discussions. She booked the spacious premium room 502 as the main meeting room and reserved additional standard rooms for other members to stay in. On July 14-15, 2024, the participants arrived in Bangkok one by one. Tour guide Vu picked up the group and took them to several sightseeing spots in the city. During this time, Shireen appeared completely normal, giving no sign that anything was wrong. She may even have paid for everything to project goodwill and the intention of resolving matters peacefully. On the afternoon of July 15, Shireen arranged the final meeting in room 502. She chose a time near the end of the day when everyone had already packed and was preparing to return home, so no one would be suspicious. The group brought their luggage to room 502, likely planning to leave the hotel right after the meeting. Seeing this, Shireen asked room service to bring up an afternoon snack and tea. She may have chosen tea instead of coffee because tea is easier to dissolve poison in and has a subtler taste. When the staff arrived with the tray, only Shireen stepped out to receive it. She calmly accepted the food, closed the door, and did not let the staff stay long. Then, she strengthened everyone's trust by personally preparing the tea. While one hand brewed the tea, the other discreetly poured cyanide into each cup. Shireen's plan was that no one, including herself, would survive, turning the case into a mystery with no living witnesses. After the tea was prepared, she invited everyone to raise their cups. 6 people lifted 6 cups of tea, likely sipping while eating and discussing business. Just a few minutes after drinking, the cyanide took effect, causing convulsions and severe breathing difficulty. The victims likely had no time to understand what was happening before collapsing in agony and dying. There was no suicide note, no final message. Shireen left behind what looked like a perfectly staged, sealed room scene. At first glance, it resembled some sort of collective suicide ritual. But the pieces of evidence, financial disputes, security cameras, and cyanide in the teacups ultimately exposed the truth. On the 17th of July, 2024, Thai police held a press conference to reveal their findings, officially naming Shireen Chong as the sole perpetrator. Based on the case files, experts concluded that Shireen displayed traits of a cunning, psychopathic black widow, a woman who kills for personal gain. She was highly skilled at manipulating others, using an image of elegance and generosity to build trust. At the same time, she was utterly self-centered, placing money above human life. Cornered by debt, she did not seek any lawful solutions such as admitting wrongdoing, repaying the money, or requesting an extension, but instead chose the most extreme path. In the moment she committed the crime, she maintained control of the situation and deliberately turned the murders into what looked like a group suicide. Yet her mental state also revealed profound desperation, suggesting she felt she had no way out and decided to end everything. Shireen's relationships with the victims were layered and complex. With Than and Phuong, she was both a business partner and a con artist who had taken their money. With Lan, she may initially have been just a business associate or used Lan as an intermediary to connect with other investors. However, Lan also knew a great deal about Shireen's financial dealings, so Shireen ultimately decided not to let her live either. As for Vun, his role remains somewhat unclear. He might have been a friend, a romantic partner, or even an accomplice. In the case of Phu, his connection to Shireen was purely that of employer and employee. He was simply a makeup artist, uninvolved in investments or finances, yet she chose to poison him as well. This underscores Shireen's extreme ruthlessness. To accomplish her plan, she was willing to eliminate even innocent people close to her so that no one could testify. For that reason, Shireen's actions were chillingly unforgivable. This mass cyanide poisoning over debt is virtually unprecedented in the history of Vietnamese-related crime abroad, sparking global debate and horror. Fortunately, the truth emerged relatively quickly, bringing some measure of reassurance to the public. In Thailand, the case sounded an alarm about the regulation of toxic chemicals. Many were shocked to learn that a level 3 deadly poison could still be obtained with relative ease. Just before this tragedy, the country had already been rocked by another cyanide case in which a female killer, Sararat Am Rangsivuthaporn, murdered 15 victims in 2023. As a result, the public has been calling on the government to tighten control over hazardous chemicals and increase penalties for illegal production and trafficking to prevent similar disasters in the future. As for you, what thoughts does this case leave you with? Do you believe Shireen was truly the sole culprit, given that there are no surviving witnesses? And if you found today's story compelling, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to Vietnamese Case Files so you won't miss any of the other gripping cases we cover in the future. See you next time.